We were just going to get into UFC 272. I don't know why I'm doing this. We have one of the best experts and analysts in the game. I'm talking about Anthony Smith, not me. I'm also kind of clued in on this, but I'm going to ask you, give me your prediction. Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, who wins and why?
I'm predicting everyone listening is going to skip to about 30 seconds ahead when Anthony Smith gives his breakdown.
Yeah. Well, do you have a prediction now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been saying I think Jorge Masvidal is going to win this fight from the moment it was booked. I don't know why. It's probably not a smart pick, but that's what I think.
Masvidal?
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, because when you look at the fight, I mean, obviously, I think, who was it said this? Oh, it was Jamal. The wrestling is his trump card, which was a nice little indirect.
It was funny he said that and didn't get it for a second.
Yeah. That is the trump card. And I think that is basically... That's the name of the episode, Trump Card. UFC 272 preview show, Trump Card. That is like kind of the big question. Can Masvidal stop the wrestling? Can Masvidal get back to his feet if taken down? Can Masvidal get the separation and do some damage with the hands? Because if he can't, Colby's going to win that fight. And I think that's what it comes down to. Colby's going to throw strikes. Of course he is. You know, he always does, and that's how he sets up his takedowns. But he's not going to come in with an approach that is just going to stand with him. These two have trained together. They know each other like the back of their hands. They lived with one another. There's bad blood, so there's, and they may get thrown off their game plan a little bit because of their emotions. But essentially, that's kind of how I see this one. What about you, Anthony?
Yeah, the funnest part to me, and this is why I love when teammates fight each other, when you get a little bit of animosity, you get a little, Harrington doesn't even want to listen. Okay.
That's fine. Forget him. It doesn't matter.
No, I absolutely love when teammates fight each other because we have all these questions and they already have the answers. Like Masvidal knows whether or not Colby can take him down consistently.
100%.
He already knows. And that's the fun part for me because we're going to find out in the first 30 seconds. We're going to see if one of those guys is going to fight different than they normally do. And whoever that guy is going to be the guy that likely loses because he's going to have to change something. Like, I really believe that Colby Covington is absolutely the second best welterweight in the world. I think Chimaev, obviously, you can throw into the conversation just because he's on his way up and there's a lot of hype behind him. I don't want to dismiss him, but he just hasn't beaten the guys for us to rightfully talk about him above the other people like your Leon Edwards and some of those guys. But he's coming. But I think if Usman doesn't exist, Colby Covington is the champion of that division. And I think that he's just a tad under Kamaru Usman. And Usman's beat Masvidal twice. The thing that works in Masvidal's favor is the fact that they have been training partners and they kind of
Usman's beat Colby twice though as well. Devil's avocado.
That's fair. So I do think that Colby's just a slightly less good version of Usman. And Masvidal didn't really have a lot of answers for Usman's game, but because they do know each other so well, Masvidal knows things about Colby as far as his style and his game that he's going to be able to take advantage of that maybe other people haven't. So whether that's he shoots one side, if he does it off a certain punch, if he has a tell in his face when he goes, like he knows all those things. So the tape says that Colby Covington should win this fight 50-45. But I think that you add in the personal stuff. I think this game is very, very mental. So we've talked about that on the show a couple times. It's probably 80% mental. So if Masvidal has the mental edge and Colby has any kind of insecurities about fighting him, I think Jamal Hill brought up a perfect point that I never even thought about. Anytime I've had an issue in the gym, and I actually had it in the Span fight where like his power right hand was keeping me up at night. I don't know why. For whatever reason. Like, I fought some of the biggest hitters in the game and never had any issues worrying about it. But for some reason, I was worried about Ryan Spence. No one else knows that. But I had to go and I had to sit in the gym with Mark and say that this thing's fucking keeping me up at night. I don't know why. And we spent an entire practice walking through the 4 ways that we plan to deal with those issues, and then talked about why emotionally, like, why is that bothering me? Like, what's going on in your head? Like, what's deep in your heart? What's bothering you? Like, now those people are the ones that are game planning against Colby. Like, they know all those secrets. That's not just technical. They know all his emotional secrets. They know how he feels inside. That's a fucked up place to be.
It really is. And also, let's not forget, Masvidal's coming off a knockout where he got knocked out cold.
Mhm.
Cold. Have you ever been knocked out unconscious cold?
Not like that. I've been one time I got knocked out in 2011, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Well, I have obviously UFC 100. I went to sleep for quite some time. To come back from that, it's tough. Now, listen, Masvidal is the type of guy. He's definitely mentally strong. He's confident, and he's been around enough to know that. Hey, listen, you fight enough, you fight the right people for long enough, it's probably going to happen. However, it was his last fight out. His last time out, pardon me. First time it's happened as well in a long, storied career. Yes, he lost by TKO once, but that's very different. The referee stepping up and saving you from more damage is very different to you just being fucking asleep. So it is a good time for Colby to get him on top of everything else you just mentioned. So it's going to be interesting to see if Masvidal is as aggressive in the earlier rounds as he normally is. One thing that you mentioned, though, they know each other like the back of the hand. I mean, I have a guy that he was one of my main sparring partners out here, right? And by the end, it was almost unproductive sparring with this man because we both knew exactly what we were going to do. We would throw the same stuff. He would know my takedowns. He would know my kicks. And I knew what he was going to do. And every sparring session looked the exact same because there was very much variation because we knew each other's game so well. He was one of my main sparring partners. Shout out Moses Murrieta. Have you had that kind of situation? You got a guy that you know like the back of your hand? Because I'm assuming these guys, they lived together, they were best friends, they were training partners, so they trained together a lot. So they know each other inside out, as well as their personal secrets, what they used to get up to in that apartment. Because I'm sure there's some fun shit went down. But yeah, did you have a training partner that you just worked with all the time, that you guys knew each other too well?
Yeah. Well, my jiu-jitsu coach, the man who took me from white belt to black belt, we almost can't even roll anymore because it's really it's really pointless. Like it's a lot of just stalling each other out. Like he'll move 1 inch and like I know where he's going, and then I'll move a little bit and he knows where I'm going. So it's Chris Camozzi's kind of the same way. We've just sparred so many rounds that it's pointless. Like every little movement, like I can see in his body language, I know exactly what he's doing for the next couple minutes probably. Because he's got his whole systems that they run through it and. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. What do you think the possibility, though, of Masvidal catching him? And I don't necessarily mean knocking him out, flatlining him. I don't think Colby's ever been knocked out. But dropping him, hurting him, and then following up. Because that's Masvidal's key to victory. Because I never saw that happening against Darren Till. I didn't think he would do that. Darren's a bigger guy. Granted, he was at 170, so that weight cut definitely probably affected him. Definitely, probably. What the fuck? Two contradictory words. But that probably affected him, right? And Masvidal landed a sweet shot, and I think that's not that I'm just saying he has a puncher's chance because he doesn't have a puncher's chance. He's a technical striker. He will set that up. He will, the man knows how to fight. He's savvy. But essentially, it's kind of the wrestling with the high-paced cardio, a high output, lots of punches to set up the takedown against Masvidal. That's going to have a pure striking offense, in my opinion.
Well, fortunately for Masvidal, Colby's only real way to victory is to have to take him down. And again, fortunately for Masvidal, that means he's got to come within arm's reach. Like he's got to come close enough to touch him. So he doesn't have to worry about trying to chase Colby down. He doesn't have to worry about Colby's going to come to him and he's going to do it often and a lot. So, and Colby's not afraid to kind of exchange in the firefight a little bit. Now, again, they do know each other very well. So I don't know if Colby is going to change that. But my one knock on Colby is that he is almost too high output. Like his hands, he throws so many punches, they're never at his face long enough to protect it anyways. So that would be my biggest knock on him is that defensively, he's not that responsible when it comes to striking. He just walks through, kind of wades through the fire. You're not going to be able to do that with everybody. He got put down a couple times by Usman in their last fight because he just kind of waded his way into range and started throwing bombs. So I think that is Masvidal's chance is to, with Colby's high output, he's going to have to take a couple, but I think that's probably a fair trade-off to Masvidal. If he can take a couple to give a couple, I would probably make that trade.
And that is a good point. But the reality is, though, let's remember, got to give Colby his due. Kamaru Usman is definitely better than the pair of them because he's beaten them both twice. Okay. Right. So that's not a matter of opinion. That's just facts. Okay. He was powerful enough, hit hard enough, had enough offense to hold Kamaru Usman at bay and to make Kamaru respect him. You know what I mean? So while, yes, you're absolutely right with the output because most people that haven't fought for a living, they won't realize. But if you're throwing fast shots like that, does not require nowhere near the amount of energy and throwing a fucking hard punch. And when you're just tapping on the bag, you can fucking go all day. When you start putting them in and you're starting to let rip and trying to do damage, you can get out of breath very, very quickly. So I think that's a conscious thing by Colby. I think he could turn it on if he wanted to. I'm sure he can dig his heels in.
Well, it's also hard to shoot when you're like that. When you're digging into your punches, it's hard to flow from the punches and then level change. So
because you're too committed, you've got your heels dug in, you're here, and then even when you don't land the punch, you're off balance and you got to push back the other way with the other hand. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're bum, 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 you can still have your feet perfectly placed. And all you're trying to do is set a trap. And when the hands come up, fuck you, motherfucker. Islam Makhachev. Let's go, brother.
Well, there's the cardio issue too. Like Colby's gonna go 25 minutes with his foot to the fucking floor, and there's not a lot of guys that can do that. So even if he has a tough first 2 rounds and really pushes Masvidal, he may take some hard shots. It's kind of like in the Usman fight. There was a wide gap between those guys in the first 2 rounds. After that, Colby's pace never slowed down, and that gap got smaller and smaller by the 5th round.
He weaponizes his cardio,
100%.
in a great way. That's what I used to do. I used to put on such a pace in my early days that eventually people wilt. They get tired. And when they get tired, they start making mistakes. And when they make mistakes, that's the beginning of the end. Last question, then I want to get a prediction from you, if you don't mind. I'm commentating, so I can't do it. Excuse me. Burping again. I'm always burping too much. The coffee shouldn't make you burp, but it does. It makes me bloody burp. There's a lot of bad blood coming into this one. We know. I am getting messages all the time in my inbox. If you think the bad blood between Colby and Jorge is real, I don't know what to tell you. You are a fool. It is a work. They are lying to everybody, all the rest. I'm like, what are you talking about? Masvidal, being the type of person that he is, I don't think he's going to go through and orchestrate this type of bullshit.
Years.
I think the beef for years, the beef is absolutely real. What's going to validate these assholes? Not assholes, that's a strong word. They're not assholes. They're just misinformed or they have an incorrect opinion. But what's going to validate their opinion is I expect after the fight, because they were so close, right? They were friends at one point. Now the bad blood is so real because whenever you've been a friend close with somebody and then you have a separation, you break up and there's bad blood, it's way more personal. If you didn't really know them, you wouldn't give a fuck. But they do have respect. They might not admit that now, but they do. And when they share 25 minutes, if it goes 25 minutes to a decision, I think we'll see them hugging in the octagon, embrace, because you know damn well, it all gets thrown out the window. Most of it's done. When you go man on man, one on one, and you've got balls enough to stand there and fight like a man, afterwards, hopefully, there should be a sign of respect and maybe the beef is squashed. So I guess after all that long setting up, do you think the beef is real? And do you think they'll embrace afterwards and say, we're good?
Yeah, I think it's 100% real. There's just been too much personal shit said, and it's gone on for too long. If there was a couple months and then they fought, and whatever, maybe, but Masvidal's kind of a gangster. I don't see him going on and letting Colby do that for that long and it not be real. But I don't think that they squash it afterwards. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah,
well, I mean, look at Askren. Askren just said a couple mean things and said that George sucked at fighting and then got KO'd, and Masvidal did not let that go. I mean, he cut a promo on him after the fight. He'll still take any opportunity he can to throw a knife in Ben Askren's back.
Yeah, and Masvidal's came at me as well many times, and we almost
Did you guys squash it?
Yeah, we're good now. We're good. I mean, obviously, it was all through Yoel Romero and their Cuban connection. Of course, I get it. And I was talking shit at Yoel, and I ripped up a Cuban flag and threw it at Yoel Romero. So apparently, that's a big no-no. And then he was talking shit. He was trying to come at me in China and then on social media. And then I was down in Uruguay, and I don't know how it happened, but we both just started laughing, shook hands. Because it was all over bullshit, really. There was nothing. There was no real issue. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And then we just started laughing. And then that night, I saw him. We had a few drinks, and then we shared a taxi back to the airport together on Sunday morning. Both hungover, sharing war stories, just like Ryan Spans. And let me tell you, Masvidal's got some fucking war stories. He is a gangster. He's not kind of a gangster. He is a gangster. Who wins, Anthony? What do you think?
Man, it's a tough. Like, again, all the film says Colby wins, but there's just some feeling I have that Masvidal seems so confident, and Colby, although he's still saying fucked up stuff, like, I mean, you talk about Masvidal's family and how he is as a father, and like, God damn, man, it's too much. And I don't know, Masvidal just seems so sure. There's just something about, like, they know each other so well. And Colby's got all these skills and all these abilities, and we all know how great he is. But, like, Masvidal's not, it doesn't look like he's even bothered by it. I don't know. There's something that tells me Masvidal knows something that we don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's just a real fighter as well. And I think that's probably part of it as well. Not so much, I'm not disagreeing with you, but yeah, maybe he knows something, or maybe it's just because that's who he is, you know, and he's had many fights. You know, when you fight on the street, when you fight in the cage, when you fight in the backyard, you know, the man's a fighter, and he's like, fuck it. But I do think that it's going to be interesting to see, because he did get knocked out against Kamaru last time. Anyway, all right. So what did you say? Did you give a prediction? Masvidal?
I tried to get out of giving one.
I was going to say, I'm like, hold on a minute. You said a lot of things, but you never actually said anything. Like, I'm like, get off the fence, bro.
Man,
get off the fence.
I got to go Masvidal. I got to go Masvidal.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Hey, and you might be right. It's a close fight.